Dr. Ryan Davis of Thrive Chiropractic in Montgomery, Alabama. Today I wanted to talk to my fitness athletes, runners, triathletes about foam rolling or stretching your IT band or your plantar fascia. So undoubtedly either yourself or one of your friends has had IT band pain or heel pain, plantar fasciitis, and been told to foam roll or stretch out the IT band or the plantar fascia. So let's talk a little bit about what the science and the evidence tells us about that. So for one, to roll out or to lengthen your IT band or to lengthen your plantar fascia, it's impossible. We cannot do it, not with any amount of stretching, not with any amount of foam rolling. So the studies have shown that in order to create a simple 1% change in the length of your IT band would require a force of 2,150 pounds to create a 1% change. In other words, it's impossible. There's no amount of thumb pressure that I can put on an athlete. There's no amount of load or weight you can put through your foam roller to create any sort of actual length change to your IT band. To create that same 1% change in length of your plantar fascia would require a force of over 1,000 pounds on your plantar fascia. So in other words, impossible. We can't physiologically lengthen out the fascia. It's just not possible. Another thing, stretching the IT band. Well, can we stretch the IT band through another mechanism? The answer is no. If you look at cadaver studies, the anatomy of the IT band, it's anchored at different points along the length of the femur. That would be like taking the rubber off of your tire, nailing it at several points to a piece of plywood, and then trying to stretch out the IT band or stretch out the rubber of the tire after it's been nailed in several places to a piece of plywood. Impossible. We can't do it. What you're feeling as that relief is actually purely a neurological mechanism. And what it is as I tension out the soft tissue through a stretch or a foam roll, eventually the stretch receptors, the sensory fibers in that soft tissue will fire, and that is the discomfort or the stretch that you feel. After a certain amount of time spent foam rolling or stretching, you will increase your tolerance to that stretch or to that tension. The neurons can't just sit there and fire forever, so they'll fatigue out. And now we can tolerate a little more length change maybe before we feel that same amount of stretch or discomfort. But it's not working under any sort of physiological mechanism. You're not changing the tissue at all. You're not lengthening the tissue, changing the tissue. You're simply working through the nervous system to tolerate more of a tension position before you feel the same amount of stretch that you did before. So what's important to know about that is that once you understand that we are purely working through neurological mechanism, if we need to know now, well, what can we do to actually increase that mobility? The neurological aspect of it is likely not going to last more than 5 to 15 minutes after we stretch. What we want to do is create that window of increased motion through foam rolling and stretching, and then do something within that window like strengthening at end range to create lasting change in the amount of mobility that we have. The other question is, do you really need extra mobility at that joint? There's a lot of people out there that are foam rolling their plantar fascia because they've had heel pain, but the reality is they've got plenty of range of motion there. They're really just lacking strength or stability of the intrinsic muscles of the foot. There's plenty of people that have a tight IT band, but in reality, it's not that the IT band's tight, it's that it's having to work overtime to prevent that knee from collapsing in immediately when they're running or when they're squatting, whatever their chosen activity is. So you need to be assessed to know, is mobility really the problem? If so, understand that stretching and foam rolling is simply the window creator, but there has to be a progression built behind that. So hopefully that was a valuable little talk there for you. If you have questions about stretching or foam rolling, feel free to shoot us a message here on Facebook, or shoot me an email, or even just check us out on our website, www.thethriveway.com.